Last week, make it through the heat for the first time that I've ever seen, right? First time in years that you've done it. And then do it again and then just have dramatic improvement. Now, tell me this. You only rode once this week.
Yeah.
How is it possible? Okay.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
No, but hear me out. How is it possible that in Indy you come out of the heat race close to death, barely survived the main, basically, like your body language in the main event, you were getting mad sketchy in the whoops, you were falling apart halfway through. Did great, but how is it possible that with 1 week in between, only riding one day in between, there can be such a dramatic improvement from like through the heat race, after the heat race, you felt great. Main event, you came off the main event, you were great.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
It just slightly, there's other variables, but this is the biggest one. It's like compounding mental momentum. You start to feel, and I'm very good at this in every other aspect of life. I'm getting much, much better at it in racing. And I talk about this often, it's hard to have the fake it till you make it mentality, so to speak, in racing because you're just proven wrong over and over and over again. It takes, like Plessinger this weekend, doesn't matter if he crashed out in that last lap or not. Now he's got that, okay, I can do it. And he just proved to himself that he can do it. Whatever doing it is, if it's making the main event, if it's getting top 5, if it's winning a race, you do it once, then you're like, okay, I can do it again. You do it 2 weekends in a row, then you're like, oh, all right, this is a regular thing now. Now we start your expectations, even though you're not consciously feeding into them, like subconsciously you have these expectations or a caliber, a bar set in your head. The only bummer now is I have time off. So I just need to make sure, I need to try and get a bike from Honda here. I need to try and ride. Allie and I are moving. I won't be at the compound with Jet and Hunter anymore. I just need to try and stay on a dirt bike in this time off. But let's say situation is different and we have another race this weekend and things continue the way they do, you would start to see a pretty hefty ramp up in everything, I think. Because it's coming back. It's all coming back. Like, it's been a long time since I've raced the main event like that and finished 16th. It had been until last weekend, a long time since I had transferred out of a heat race. You slowly start to have doubts whether you can actually do it or not. So then once you prove to yourself even a little bit that you can do it, then it starts the compound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the ticket. Like, if anybody didn't believe that this was a mental game, this whole dirt bike racing thing, now you know, because you don't get dramatically more fit riding one day during the week than you did the previous week, right? Your fitness didn't get any better, yet your fitness was dramatically different this weekend, right? It's incredible to me how much the mental side has to do with it. Like,
it is almost everything, especially the higher level you get. It becomes more important, but it's important at any level because I see people and how they react to certain stressful situations and high pressure situations. And people all respond very different. And depending on how you respond and prep mentally for these things, some people physiologically end up in a state where they're really weak. Their legs are weak. They feel like they're going to throw up. They feel sick to their stomach. They can't eat. Do you think that that's not affecting your performance? Of course it is. It's affecting your performance in a huge way, where if you can be the guy that's like not fazed by any of that, and not only not fazed by any of that, he is so confident that he is like standing up straight and breathing slowly and kind of has that vibration of like he's already accomplished it. That is so different. It is so different. It's just hard to do in the sport. And as I begin to learn more about it, hopefully I can make sense of it more and more to you guys and articulate it. The problem is I'm starting to understand all of these things, but I can't freaking make sense of it when I go to talk. The mental game is a very weird, delicate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what?
And you want to know a cool part too? I just feel as though I'm riding better now than I've ever ridden in my life. Not speed wise, not result wise, but just like watching footage of me ride. I'm a better rider now than I've ever been.
I mean, you let your feet hang off a little bit more than you probably should, but
yeah. But elbow, like upper body's really good. Footwork is great for the most part.
You look comfy.
Sometimes I lock at the hips a little bit and look like an old man, but it's not frequently. It's for brief moments. If I get into a tense, stressful situation, you'll see my back roll. I don't even know if other people notice that or if I'm just really picky about it. But when I watch myself in slow-mo or just any footage, I'm like, wow, I look better now at 30 than I ever have on a dirt bike. So I just need to continue to make time these next few years. It's cool. I've told you this. I've told the podcast this. There will be a time. Some people might think this is the time, but it's not yet. It's still coming. Where my racing will be at its peak and Moto Academy will be at the highest level. Right? You've heard me say that. And isn't it cool that it
was doing that?
It's doing it.
I would have thought.
It's doing it.
That doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever.
No, but I knew it was going to happen. I was 100% convinced that it was going to happen, and it's happening. But it's going to keep going that direction. So next year will be even better. The year after, I bet, will be even better. If I can start to, especially once I have my own facility, and if I'm living at that facility, there's no excuse. I'll be able to ride all the time. And I won't have that. Like, did I have a preseason this year? Yes. But before that preseason was months and months and months of nothing, downtime. Riding people's bikes at classes and stuff, sure. But if I can eliminate that gap of not riding from May through November, May, June, July, August, September, October, that's 6 to 7 months of time where people are doing this and separating themselves from me. And then I have to close that gap. That was the whole theme of my preseason with Jet, Hunter, and Chance is like, guys, I'm closing that gap. But if I can just keep that gap where it's at or close to it over the off season, and then in the preseason start a little earlier, and then I'm not, rebuilding from ground zero, that will be compounding momentum as well.
Okay, so I have another question for you. Do you feel like we are settling in to where we should be? Like, do you feel like we're like really finding like our flow here in the season?
Oh, for this season? Yeah, I think given the preparation that I've had, and I think that being a 12th to 18th place guy is probably a realistic spot to be. I think qualifying 8th is probably better than preparation or expectation would allow, but not necessarily. I mean, I go pretty fast at the dog pound sometimes. I just base it on like how much prep I know everybody else has, right? You can't expect to be an 8th place guy in a main event if the 8th place guy in the main event has trained 4 times as much as you have in the last 18 months. It's just, that's not an excuse, but it's just trying to be somewhat realistic so that I can remain positive about my situation. I think given my preparation and where I'm at, we're doing well. If you guys enjoyed this podcast clip and you want to listen to full episodes, go download them. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I think that's it. Go download them there, give them a listen. If you want to watch full episodes, which I tell you what, it's even better to do that, go to club.themotoacademy.com. because Moto Academy subscribers inside of the app have exclusive access to watch the entire episodes. And not only that, the subscribers actually can send in their questions to be answered on the podcast as well. club.themotoacademy.com. Go subscribe.